round two of our bowl season podcasts.
The bowl season podcast.
That's going to be the title of this video. Yeah, now we're on to the New Year's Six bowls. I think that we've gotten past all the minor bowls, all the disappointment bowls, and we're on to the big time, prime time bowls, the one that all the nation's going to be watching. And we got 6 of them because there's New Year's Six bowls.
And you think these would be the games everybody's hyped up to watch?
And some of these aren't. This is the problem. This is why we need to expand the playoff.
You talked about the bowl confidence. Right now, you don't even have confidence that your star players are going to be playing in the game.
Exactly. We'll get onto it when we pick the games.
And we should just say we could look like idiots because some of these guys might have already opted out, or they may opt out between now and kickoff based on COVID or based on, I don't know, their grandma tripped over. I mean, who knows what it could be.
Keep that in mind. So if we say something stupid, or if we don't know anything that happens yet, say, I don't know, some star player for Baylor opts out before
then
the
find
game
another
starts.
Preacher and Prodigy podcast to listen to. You won't hurt our feelings.
All right. Starting off with the Peach Bowl, also known as sort of the Kenless Bowl. It's Pitt, number 12 Pitt versus number 10 Michigan State. Michigan State is favored by 2.5. Reason I say it's the Kenless Bowl is because Pittsburgh's insane quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is declared for the NFL draft, opted out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one Ken, and then the other Ken for Michigan State, Kenneth Walker III, the best running back in the country, opted out for the NFL draft.
Remember the old book, The Legend That Could? Used to say, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. This is neither of these teams think they can because their Kens are both out.
That's a good one.
Really.
But both of these teams not really coming in with a lot of momentum. Michigan State, before their loss to Purdue, really thought that they could make the playoff. Pittsburgh, disappointed that Kenny Pickett's out. So Michigan State favored by 2.5. I think I'm going to take Michigan State on this one. If Kenny Pickett was playing, I'd take Pittsburgh. Because Michigan State's pass defense is the worst in the country by a mile.
Mm-hmm.
They're allowing, on average, 35 yards more than any other team. And that's counting all the New Mexico states and the Massachusetts, all those terrible teams. They cannot defend the passing game. But with Pittsburgh's backup quarterback in, I don't think he's going to be that as good as Kenny Pickett, not near him. And I think that Michigan State is just going to ground and pound and just physically outdo them.
Absolutely agree. I think Kenny Pickett meant more to Pitt than Kenneth Walker III meant to Michigan State. I think Michigan State will do well with their own passing game. Naylor and Reed and Thorne and the rest of that crew. They've got Hayward yet and a couple other guys who can carry the ball. I'll take Michigan State. I think Michigan State covers this one somewhat easily, too. Now, the other motivating factor for Pitt could be Pat Narduzzi, playing against his old team. But I'm going with you. I'm taking Michigan State to win fairly comfortably.
Yeah, and you never know. Sometimes if you just chuck the ball up to Jordan Addison, a Fred Biletnikoff finalist, maybe he can make something happen. I don't think that's going to happen very often. All right, heading down to LA, the Rose Bowl, the 11 Utah Utes against the number 6 Ohio State.
Now, when did we get this line? Because we just heard that Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Haskell Garrett, and Nick Petit-Frere are all opting out.
I got this line at about 1 or 1:30.
Okay, so info should be baked in.
Ohio State is favored by 4.5. Losing 2 of the 5 best receivers in the country, losing a All-American D lineman, losing a All-Big Ten offensive lineman, going up against the upstart Utes,
who have looked awesome
very
at the end
good.
of the year.
They're a team that you want to watch. They're the team that's going to give you attention to the Pac-12 sometimes. I'm going to take Utah on this one. I think that Travion Henderson, without Petit-Frere, It's going to hurt them a little bit, and I think that Utah's defense is incredible. Devin Lloyd is one of the greatest linebackers in Utah history. He anchors the defense. He is like the motivator. He's the hype guy for the defense. And I think they're going to come in there. I don't think that Travion Henderson is going to have as good of a game as he might have hoped, and I don't think that C.J. Stroud is going to be able to do as good without Olave or Wilson. And I just think that Utah's going to control the time of possession. I'm going to take Utah.
Yeah, I mean, there's something that I'm just curious. Everything that you just said, and given that you got the line recently, would say to me, the line should be Utah minus 4.5. But Vegas still recognizes that top to bottom, Ohio State has one of the top 3 teams in the country in terms of talent. And I think that's true even with the opt-outs you mentioned. I'm going Buckeyes. I think that Ohio State did some soul searching after the Michigan game. I think they had to. I think Ohio State's defense still has enough players that they can out-athlete a team like Utah. I have no doubt Utah wants to be there more than Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
But I think C.J. Stroud playing in good weather conditions is just a killer. And it doesn't matter to me so much if he's playing against or playing with Wilson or Olave or Smith and Jigma and Harrison and Fleming. I think that there's going to be a ton of Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams. I think Ohio State offensively outscores Utah, and I think they outscore them by 4.5. So we disagree. I'm taking the Buckeyes.
All right, moving along, we got the Sugar Bowl. 2 teams that have come from the bottomless pit. It's 7 Baylor versus 8 Ole Miss. Both of these teams a year ago, 2 years ago, were not good. It's not like only their fan base and maybe a couple other people really wanted to watch their games. The line on this game is Mississippi by 1.5.
Yeah, so Matt Corral's playing.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
No, he's very possibly the top quarterback taken in a admittedly weak NFL draft class for signal callers. It's Pickett and Malik Willis. Corral is in there, but it's just not a strong class. But I think I have undersold Baylor all year, and I finally went ahead and picked them to beat Oklahoma State, and they did. I'm going Ole Miss, though. I think that Jeff Lebby has left for Oklahoma, but I think that the offensive play calling abilities of Joey Freshwater, as Lane Kiffin likes to call himself, is enough. And Matt Corral shows out in hopes of boosting his draft stock. I'm going to lay the points. I'm going to take the Rebs.
Man, I think I'm going to take Baylor on this one. I just think that their defense has been very good last, half of the year. Gary Bohannon is an underrated quarterback. Their run game is underrated. And I think Baylor's the more well-rounded team because Ole Miss, sure, they have a good offense. Baylor might not be able to keep up with that, but their defense is not as spectacular as some would hope. So I'm going to take Baylor to win this one.
Last team, they're doing pretty well against Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. So, I don't know. We'll disagree on that one as well.
That's Mississippi State.
All right, and this is our final non-playoff game. We have those aforementioned Cowboys against Notre Dame in the Tostitos. Still sponsored by Tostitos, I believe. Fiesta Bowl. Notre Dame is a 2.5-point favorite.
I gotta think about this one.
Again, some coaching changes. Brian Kelly has left to go to LSU. Marcus Freeman takes over as the head man. And Oklahoma State's defensive coordinator is now with the Buckeyes. So a couple of things that made those teams what they are. The Notre Dame offense and Oklahoma State defense have had their chief minds taken from them.
Yeah, this is a very good game. It could go either way. I mean, Oklahoma State with a win and any of the playoff teams losing besides Georgia, they would have been in the playoff. Versus a Notre Dame team who has dominated.
I'm taking Notre Dame. I mean, I'm not going to overthink this. I think Notre Dame is just a better team, and the Brian Kelly thing is real. But I think those players love playing for Freeman. So give me the Irish.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think that Notre Dame's going to continue their hot streak over the last 8 or so games, and I do think that they will win this one by 4 or something. I think it's going to be a very good game to watch, though.
I mean, Notre Dame's a playoff team if Tank Bigsby goes out of bounds.
And Alabama's out.
Yeah.
Alabama's out.
And you're looking at a game in which it's probably, I don't know, Michigan against Notre Dame, 1-4 maybe, if things had broken differently. So we shall see, because they wouldn't have jumped Cincinnati.
Reach the ball out.
Yeah, well, stay in bounds.
Stay in bounds or reach the ball at, and
too bad.
Yards can make changes in football.
All right, so now we come to the playoff games, and you and I are very excited to pick this next one. The Cotton Bowl from Jerry's World in Texas, because we've talked about this, and we disagree
heavily,
violently on Cincy against Bama. I already know what you're going to do, so go ahead and make your case, and then I'll destroy your case after you've made it.
Okay, so sure, Alabama's going to win. Alabama might win by 10 or 11.
Line is, we didn't say the line, 13.5?
13.5, yeah. I just think that Cincinnati has too good of cornerback. Jamison Williams might be better than both of those cornerbacks. But that's just one receiver that Bryson can throw to, though. The rest of them, Cincinnati's better than. Their offense is very good. Alabama has shown some weaknesses on the defensive side before. I think that Jerome Ford can make you pay. I think that Desmond Ridder is a great leader and a motivational guy. I just think that Cincinnati's defense is very good. I'm going to take Cincinnati to cover this one. Probably like a 31-20 kind of a game.
No. Nick Saban with 3-4 weeks to prepare. Bill O'Brien. Alabama's going to pound them. You quoted me as saying 48-3 Bama, and I don't know if I said that. I might have, but I'll walk it back. I'm going to say 38-13. It will not be close. You got a couple cornerbacks that can play football. Sure, they can. But when you have to put lines on the field, Alabama's defensive front seven against Cincinnati's offensive line. Alabama's offensive line has not been great, but I'll still take them one man for one man all the way across the line of scrimmage against Cincy's DL. Bama wins this thing, and it's a laugher in the fourth quarter, 38-13.
I just don't think so. Okay, Georgia, Michigan.
That's our line right here, 7.5.
7.5.
It's been between 7 and 9, kind of the whole time.
It's gone down to 6.5, but Michigan's never been favored in this one, and I can see why.
By watching all the playoff reveal shows, I just everybody picked Georgia to win the national championship.
Yep.
So we'll see.
But Bama proves them wrong. I think that Georgia's going to win this in the end. I think that it's probably going to be close at halftime, and then I just feel like the Jim Harbaugh of old is going to come out. Georgia's going to get a field goal, take the lead. Michigan's going to have a bad turnover, maybe Hassan Haskins fumble. That hasn't happened at all this year. And I think that Georgia's going to capitalize with a touchdown. I don't think Michigan's ever going to come back. So I'm going to take Georgia to cover this one. Probably it's 26-17 kind of a game.
No. I have doubted Michigan all year long. I famously said that they would go 6-6. I predicted them to lose a whole bunch of games in this podcast. I picked them not to cover games in this podcast. I picked them to lose to Ohio State. I think Michigan has what it takes this year in their minds. They have confidence. They have incredible leadership from guys like Aiden Hutchinson. Now, Daxton Hill, we have heard, might be coming a day or two behind the rest of the team. He might be in COVID protocol, but a lot of people expect he will see the field, which they'll need to cover Brock Bowers. Junior Colson out there on Bowers, too, is going to be an important matchup. I think Georgia's really good, and I don't think this is going to be in any way a comfortable Michigan win. But am I going to take those 7.5 points and give them to this team? Absolutely. I think that they relish being the underdog. I think that they're ready to play with fire. I think the Michigan fan base is going to show up big time in Miami. And I think Michigan's going to win the game and play for the national championship. So much less, I'm going to take those points. I'm done doubting. I believe something with this coaching staff. They are young. They're hungry. They're unproven, and they've been doubted. And they're going to go out there, and I think Michigan wins this game 31-30 on the leg of Jake Moody at the end of regulation.
I don't think we're going to.
Jake Moody.
I don't think we're going to score
31-30. Michigan plays for the national championship.
I don't think we're going to score 31 points. I just don't. I don't see it.
I didn't see Michigan scoring 42 against Iowa, which had gone 34 games without giving more than 29 up, and they put 42 on their heads. So I'm with a healthy Blake Corum. But I think you're gonna see a bit more, not a lot more, but a bit more J.J. McCarthy. I think maybe his snaps go up to 20 snaps maybe in this game, 5 or so a quarter. And I think he's going to use his legs, and I think the will of Hassan Haskins and the Michigan offensive line are going to keep this from being a Georgia blowout. And I think Michigan's going to be there at the end with a field goal to win it.
It's a pretty epic win. I just don't think, say 2 football weeks ago, with the same intensity, Aiden Hutchinson wanted to beat Ohio State, wanted to win the Big Ten championship, make the playoff, all those guys. After the win against Maryland, do you think we could beat Georgia?
Did I think we beat Georgia at that point? No, because 2 things. Number 1, Alabama had not yet exposed the weakness that Georgia has in pass defense, and now it's been shown. Michigan does not have a Heisman Trophy winner like Bryce Young, but they have a guy with a good arm who can fit balls in Cade McNamara, and they have a guy who can keep your defense honest in the run game in J.J. McCarthy. I also hadn't seen Michigan do what it did to Ohio State, in which even though they didn't have superior talent on the field, they had the heart to win that game. And now I've seen that, and I know it's going against the expert opinion, and I'm trying to make this not be a heart pick. I think my head tells me 7.5 points for Georgia is too many, and Michigan can cover that. And maybe my heart prediction says I think Michigan wins the game, but we shall see.
Then probably one more game for the national championship. Whoever makes it.
And right now we just picked 9 games.
10.
Didn't we? 10 games, that's right.
10.
And you are trailing in 3 games. So you have to go, if you go 7-3, you'll be in the lead. Because you'll have picked up 4 games on me.
Correct.
Anything less than that, and you will be trailing. You need to go 7-3 down the stretch here. So, and actually, how many games did we agree on?
I don't know. I mean, we agreed on the Oregon-Oklahoma
We agreed on Oklahoma State and Notre Dame.
And
we agreed on Michigan State. So you almost have to, in all the games we disagreed, you have to win.
Correct.
You need to run the table here. So we'll see how it goes. We'll get back with you either with a national championship preview or at least the end of season wrap up. Until then,
it's the preacher and the prodigy.
Yeah, but I'm giving you the chance.
All right, fine.
Because you've been
preacher.
Humiliated all year. No, you can say I'm the prodigy.
Okay, I'm the prodigy.
And I'm the preacher, and I'm going to win. Peace.